Just couldn't help myself, had to wait.
Crazy process. All right, so apologies, I haven't yet, because I haven't had lunch yet, so I guess my, oh, but I got you grab your coffee. But I was,
What happens when you come back from vacation?
I know, it's the
You work hard before you leave and you work extra hard when you
Exactly.
come back. I remember those days. Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Start with the approval of the agenda. Second. Okay. Well, second, no, she needs to say. Yeah,
I second or you?
no, I didn't, I forgot that.
would you like to make the motion?
Oh, yes, I'll make the motion. I
Yes.
forgot about the reference.
Yes. I second.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, public comment to anybody online? Nope, okay. Okay, next approval of March 21st minutes.
The only question I had, is Monday, May 6th, the time at 6 p.m.? I had it at 4. And
At the time that this was created. For sure.
And I have
Monday,
it
May
I have it at 6, I double checked.
Did you?
But it
Okay.
could have gotten changed
No,
to
that's fine.
4 and
I
I didn't
just-
change it.
just
I wrote
wanted-
it down as 4. You did, okay, what do you have, Shannon?
What day are we talking about? again?
Monday, May 6th. I thought we did have another 4, but nobody
We
said
can do
that.
4. Yeah, I think it was just
We thought that.
both that we talked about.
Yeah, we were thinking that would be the meeting where we're just simply choosing the form of communicating to the city clerk. And so, okay, 4 o'clock.
That's what I have on my calendar
Okay.
for.
Okay, then I'll change it,
I
thank you.
will
I-
make sure to.
I was that would be the only correct.
Yeah, I double
That's-
checked it on this
so-
today.
It's very possible that I typed that.
2 out of 3, so I guess they're right. So, with that amendment, we approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried. Old business. We wanted to know when the last salary increase by date happens. City council.
The full email from the city clerk, because he sent me some. Search. Was part of the budget in 27-28. It should have been codified in the code, but was never codified. However, it's too late since we removed it in favor of the commission, so according to this ordinance. The compensation of the mayor was last revised in 98 and 97. And then they said, we're gonna make the adjustment 2004.
So wait a minute. They
But
did-
then
they-
probably this one was the budget for 27. Or sorry, 2007, 2008, so I feel like it probably happened in 2007, 2008. Not really sure why he gave us that. It's page 15.
Probably wasn't so curious with that message, so. Probably in those words here, they'll say.
On that page 15, right, we talked about. Should be there. Oh,
Budget.
so in the general fund here. probably. There's reserve, normal. My guess is 07 and 08. Yeah.
So it was approved, or I mean, it was
Oh, here, yeah, so it's
No.
saying,
recently. or more
Here,
recently, that was all.
5 to 600,
mhm,
and the mayor's salary was increased
Okay.
36, there it is.
And that was for
That
beginning
was in-
January 1st, 2008.
yeah.
Huh.
And it could be, so one of the things that I would, just point out then is that when we looking at the compensation salary survey information that we've gotten, for example, the mayor, 3,000 with benefits, he's kind of on the higher end of what the group is, and so I would even say that perhaps in 2008, we were paying above market significantly. If we're paying at market now, or even above
I
market,
wonder
and
how
so.
that happened. That's weird.
I don't know, so I would just
Yes.
even
Yeah.
with the council then, while that may be the last time they got their raise, looking at today's numbers. You know,
It's comparable.
it's close,
Yeah.
so we're not so far out of range, which is good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no,
that's
and I
good.
think we
Exactly.
felt
Yeah.
that when
Yeah,
we
yeah.
first viewed it.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I would feel a little better that it was done here and not when we first were told like 2003 or something. That's what's really wacky.
Yeah.
Every $1,000, sure, as compared to the
Yeah.
other data that we saw, so.
Yeah,
Mhm.
think of what happened to the US in 2008-9 with the mortgage crisis.
Oh, right.
That
Well,
caused
they
everything
had it,
for a
But they
long time.
got, yeah, but they got a decent bump in there,
Sure,
luckily.
yeah.
Okay, but did we go through any more lists of, we were gonna pull some more cities?
For next meeting.
For next meeting,
It was
Good,
next
so
meeting, it
for-
wasn't for this meeting, okay.
Good
correct.
cities for the
Oh, okay,
voters.
right, thank you.
For-
And I don't mean that it has to be put on that list, cause that will unbalance it, I just thought if we could look at some other cities.
Yeah.
Separately, that were more comparable on their sales tax revenue, and that would, you know, feel better, I would feel better going forward with. the
Yeah, it's,
recommendation. Okay,
completes the picture, doesn't it?
okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it
okay,
does.
I just wanted to clarify that I wasn't looking to imbalance that.
Mhm.
AR, whatever it's called. AUC.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it said added to it, the list.
Yes.
Our notes, and I just want to make sure. Okay,
My understanding was today was gonna be the focus of the survey.
correct.
yes, yes,
That's
you're
our-
right.
That's
you're
our
right.
real work.
Okay, okay, groovy. And I sent it out, and I don't know if he did send it. He did send it,
Yeah.
okay, I thought he did, yeah,
Everybody.
so that you were
a
able to
separate-
think about it
Yeah,
over there,
okay.
I thought so. But, you know, that was a couple weeks ago, at least. Okay,
So I don't know who wants to start, but I have some observations.
yeah, go ahead.
Please.
Overall, I look at, like the community events, the fundraisers, the organization, attendance, and any sort of membership questions you have. I think that in my opinion, that they should be written in a manner that recognizes that the council members, that those things are new to them because they're on the council. Because you could have people that have been a part of Rogue. And so to ask them, so that, like I said, the phrasing, I think what you're looking, what we're looking for are additional things that these council members have chosen to do because they're on the council.
That's good.
As opposed to being citizens of Lake Forest Park.
Sure, no, that's valid, yeah. Some will be on that.
So one of the things you might want to consider in that is that they're voluntary things that they're doing outside of it, it's not necessarily expected or required, I guess.
Right.
And so while it's good to understand that scope, I would be careful not to change the parameters of what their job is. In the sense of it's not a requirement
Right,
for them to be
right.
doing these things.
It's an extra community service.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
really, you're looking at, for lack of a better word, the job description.
Do we have a job description for our council?
I think it's more by what the state's definition
Okay,
of what they're supposed to
okay.
do.
The base of the state, that's fine.
You know, I mean, one of the things, is like just kind of wordsmithing and playing around with this, and I'm thinking this may not actually, this language may not even fly, but. I put something down like, have you joined any community organizations such as Rotary in conjunction with your role as council? I mean, because I don't know how many people join like Rotary now, because I'm on the council, but if we ask that
Well-
question, then does it indirectly imply that you should be joining Rotary because you're on the council?
So I look at, I guess, what are you trying to accomplish from the survey?
What's the goal?
Because if the intent is more due to your council obligations, are you going as a representative of the
Right.
city as a city council member versus are you a member? It's a very different.
Yes.
That's what we really want to
Pro.
know.
The way this one's reading does read to the fact that, well, are you in an organization as a member? But that doesn't necessarily tie it to the function of serving as a council member. And so I would just, again, look at what is the scope and purpose of what you want from this. Whether or not someone participates in an outside organization could also be impacted by other things. It's not necessarily a requirement of the position, but are you asked by the council to go in front of Rotary, as an example, to speak to people about a topic that's related to their role? That might be very different than this. I will caution you in the two questions that did for me, pull out as ones that I just would not ask at all are tied to the financial components.
Exactly.
I
Okay.
personally would say that's not appropriate for this commission.
Well, let's
and
delete it.
would-
That's
Those
all.
are ones I would just say,
Delete,
yeah.
yeah. I
So
just
then-
know there's
Yeah. go
There's
ahead.
usually pressure, from community to join those things, so that's.
Yeah, and there
But,
could be,
that's
but
their decision.
as
personal
the scope of
decision.
the salary commission, though,
We don't
your
need to know that.
your job is to look at what is the market paying? And does this align with what our members are getting? paid?
Well, let's take those out.
Perfect.
That's nice. Okay with me. How about you guys? Everybody okay with
I
that?
think we should listen to the guidance.
Yeah,
So which ones, are you guys
it's-
agreeing on?
the community organization and.
I think that, if you attend any city-related fundraisers, that would
Where's
talk
that one?
about,
Well, not asking how much you personally contributed,
Yeah.
that's.
Oh, yeah, I wondered
That's
about, I
definitely-
thought that one was gonna be a red flag, actually, but I threw it in there.
Find out, yeah.
So then.
Well, yeah, I
Yeah,
thought it
yeah.
would be good to find out, but I'm not sure it's going over the line of what we're doing here, so,
So then,
no.
that.
It demonstrates us thinking about the types of questions,
Yeah.
which is not to do it.
Yeah, but,
Yeah.
yeah, but I had wondered if we were able to ask that, or should ask that, because some people may feel, they may not have the money, and might feel bad about that.
Do we have city-related fundraisers?
I didn't understand what that meant.
Oh,
I've ever-
yeah, not city related, that was a mistake, community related.
Exactly, because you live in this community.
Third place
and- And
comments
then
and,
some things happen,
Shirley
do you feel
Garrison.
pressured as an elected
Yeah,
official to
yeah.
participate?
well,
Probably, doesn't mean have to.
right.
And you don't have to give, right? I mean,
Correct.
you can
Right,
show
you could
up,
just show, but
Showing-
usually you have to pay to show up.
But I think sometimes what they do too is that they waive fees if council, I mean,
Yeah, I don't
I've
know,
seen
I
that.
was
I've-
on board,
Yeah.
on board, but didn't.
that, you know, that
And
they don't have to
really-
pay for the Rotary breakfast. you
Right,
know,
right.
But they can show
right,
up
Right,
because they want, to
They
participate.
want their engagement.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they'll
yeah.
waive fees, but I don't know if they'd waive $150 to the Shoreline
Right.
Foundation.
right.
Yeah, so I would say that the
Well,
ones
let's
that were
check it out.
comfortable for me were, what are the reasons you ran for council? Maybe, I mean,
That's uncomfortable for you?
well, no, the
Oh.
ones that the ones actually that I would strike would be, please estimate how much time you spend attending any community events, unless we qualified it saying you've been asked to as a council member. The next one, if you attend any city-related fundraisers, I would say is a strike. are you a member of any special council appointed group? That would be okay. And have you joined any community organizations? That would be a strike out, but for those reasons that we just talked about.
Yeah.
But then, I think that when you start talking about, do the council members, are they asked to attend community events ever?
As a representative of the city,
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure the mayor is asked, I don't know, and respect the others without asking directly. I'm sure there's some things that they type,
So then
but
do we,
I just don't know.
so do we try to wordsmith these that, would it be appropriate to say? Estimating how much time in a year do you spend attending any community events as a representative of the council? Is that a fair question?
That's more direct, yeah.
Yeah. All right,
Or I guess representing the city as a council
There
member.
you go,
Okay.
represent
However you
the
wanna
city.
I'm an accountant, so I'm good
No,
at any
it's okay.
wordsmithing you'll do, but that was one of my ideas, and
Yeah.
okay.
No, I like
And
that
then again,
clarification.
going down to the next, do you attend any special conferences? Then again, I think that has to say related to your work on the council, right?
Yeah,
And again, it has to reference that you're being asked to do that.
yeah, because some of them just went to Washington DC,
And that was all paid for, wasn't it? Because
Yeah.
I think we
Right,
saw
but
reimbursements. Yes,
It's time,
yes,
So-
yes. Yeah,
Representing the city as a council.
yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Representing the city as a council member, the same wording, right?
mhm.
So perhaps as I'm hearing what it is the group is maybe trying to gather, it's one, how many hours are you spending? Is it, well, not on council meetings, is it attending council?
Yeah.
Meetings and maybe related, I don't know if they have related trainings or
Oh, trainings.
They do have.
or
trainings.
conferences and put it together in
Mhm.
one, and then how many additional hours, if any, do you spend representing the city in other community events? And then your conferences, I don't know if there are any special conferences, but I know you're talking about DC, but I'm just thinking they're all together kind of goes as one, so I'm getting you want to have the number of hours. I'm not hearing that it matters where that bucket of time
Right.
is ultimately. So you could probably even simplify some of the questions to say, how many hours do you spend preparing for city council functions or meetings or business? And then how many hours do you spend attending meetings, conferences, committee events as a
Committees,
Right,
yeah, 'cause
right.
some are in different committees,
Perfect.
yeah,
And then
perfect,
you've got it in one
Okay.
question.
that sounds good.
And
And then that will summarize into one, your question about how many hours, how many attending council meetings, how many hours preparing for council meetings, how many hours attending community events, how many special conferences, and are you a member? If so, how many hours? So that just kind of puts it all with those two questions.
Bumps it into.
a member of any special council.
Mhm.
appointed group, okay.
Yeah, so how many,
Okay.
in just reading that back then, how many hours do you spend preparing for council meetings and related functions? Or something like, I'd have to wordsmith a little bit more. Related, which would include maybe in parentheses, related trainings, committees,
Mhm, mhm.
community events. And then how many you preparing and attending. Those buckets.
Yes, but when we start talking about community events, again.
Yeah,
that's-
and being
that needs to be-
specific as a.
But it's just
city
gonna say it as
representative
a
of the city.
representative.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure that gets dropped in there.
Mhm.
And then
Right.
the last one, the question in terms of, do you feel that there needs to be more racial and income diversity? Curious as to, what we're really
Oh, I
trying to
was
explore there.
sleeping.
And,
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Yeah, just noticed my typos. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
well, no, it's what, what is it that we're trying to explore? Is it to ask them, whether or not they want more racial and income diversity? And if so, please explain. So it's kind of like, well, what is it? What's the end question as the salary commissioner are we after here? And I think it might be because you had mentioned in a meeting that there are some cities that allow for more money. And so do we actually is what we're trying to do there is whether or not is it because we're trying to figure out whether or not the council thinks that additional incentive would bring in more people with a lower income and diversity? Is that the end game with that question? Because if it is, then I think we have to reword the question somehow. Because who's not gonna say, of course, we need more diversity? I mean, there might be people, but
So you really say, do we need to incentivize participation in council meetings by providing a stipend for lower income individuals?
They got more direct.
it's guided. But
It's guiding, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So maybe, I guess I struggle a little bit with the question because I think that it's not addressing, kind of the scope of what you need to do from the commission. That probably is a council issue of how do you provide some like inclusivity, how do you reach out to those populations within our community. This is a component of it, but it may not be something that this commission can direct. And maybe you make a recommendation within your recommendation that they explore that further.
And we
Perhaps.
could have a
Then
letter,
perhaps with the stipend.
a letter that is transmittal, and we make a couple recommendations in addition to the real work product.
Right, here
Yeah,
maybe
as
some
far-
considerations for the
Choose
council
to-
to look at in future budgeting or
I like that.
however.
Yeah, I like that too. It gets us out of a messy question.
so then that gets,
That gets Xed. Good.
so we like short surveys because.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The-
I just kind of threw in everything I could think of that.
Well, it's good. It's good. It's fodder for discussion, right?
Yeah, exactly. But like I said, I take those. Okay,
Is there a way?
but
for
I like
them-
the last question though. Is there anything else you would like to add that you think will help us understand your council service work better? I always like that in a survey to ask. How do you guys feel?
I agree. Should we put a limit, say like, don't,
No more than a
no more
paragraph.
than 400 words,
Yeah.
I mean,
So I think Survey Monkey will limit the number of responses
Perfect.
automatically, I
Perfect.
believe. I'll look.
Yeah,
if
yeah.
there- I'm pretty sure, because I'm doing the free version, so. it's
Yeah,
not-
right.
yeah,
You have to pay for the extra.
yeah.
So, symbols,
Our
yeah.
city, we don't pay for
Okay.
it. We should,
Be able to keep it short and simple and get the answers we need.
yeah.
Okay.
You're right, though. Somebody could go on with a novel.
Yeah.
So can I ask you a generic question from your experience? With council members, when they come into elected position, they have no idea what issues come before them in their term. So I'm sure some years have bigger issues that require more work and energy. Is there some way we could say? I mean, I would imagine comp plan years are one of those periods. You know, when you're having to
Sure.
read voluminous documents or go to multiple meetings.
Mhm.
Yes, the folks that have been here have experienced enough of that, that we'll get that through our survey, but, I know that if I didn't have a lot of time serving the position, I would have a hard time telling this body what you want to know if you've
Mm.
not
Well, I
experienced
was
it.
thinking about that with Ellen and Paula, who, right, don't have that experience.
Right.
But we do have enough that have already gone through it once. I think they're the only two new ones, right? But I hear what you're saying, but I don't know how you would get that.
I don't know, I just,
Because.
We'll get
because
honest
also-
answers,
Because
yes.
also they never know, I don't think anybody knows what's, even if you know the comp plan's coming up, it could be an easy peasy. Get through, or it could be like some transit where it never ends, you know what I mean?
Do you
Um,
wanna give them perhaps some buckets to
Mm.
click, so you could say, I don't know, not zero, but 0 to 20 hours, 21 to 50, or whatever those numbers are. So it gives a range that maybe that is less about individually, each person's rating, I do 50, I do 40, I do
Mm,
10,
mhm,
6, I don't know.
mhm.
How you're gonna use the data, I guess, is that output part is what I'm trying to reconcile a little
Sure.
bit, and how you take those results and make it usable for whatever it is you're trying to do with this data.
it would certainly be easier for the creation survey to have buckets as opposed to if somebody wrote a long answer.
What I heard last time too was that you wanted some anonymity to the answers. And so as I think about the output side of it as well,
Mhm.
that might also lend itself a little bit more to that, because if I'm reporting back the answers to the group,
Yes,
you could say, here's
yes,
Okay.
the range.
Mhm, mhm.
buckets make sense.
Next.
So what are, what's the minute?
Mm.
I mean, I don't even know
Yeah.
how many, the committee of the whole and the council meetings, I mean, they're gonna vary depending on how much is on the agendas, but
Yeah,
I mean, is
so,
that, right there, is that 20 hours a month? That,
well,
just
you
in
could
time?
say, 0 to 20, right? I think that's, you could think there's 2 meetings at least in
Yeah.
each month. Each one is probably a couple hours with maybe some prep if people do that.
so 0 to 20 would be reasonable, maybe.
I
range to
would
start
maybe
with.
even go with a smaller, and you could even just say 0 to 10. I'm thinking about with the commissioners, because we had at the fire department, commissioners would actually put in their hours, they would record them. So you could have it as low as 6, but they only met, their frequency might have been a little bit less. Or you would have it greater and have like 20, but there were times where you were only putting in maybe, here's an hour, here's 2 hours, here's 3 hours
Mhm.
for the month.
So I just don't wanna put a number, the 0 to X, that X is so low that they think, really? There's a lot more than that, right? I mean, it's,
Mm,
yeah, but I
Yeah,
mean, there could be months where it's 15,
mhm.
if it's a slow month with issues. and-
well, what I heard though is you want the average, right? You're not-
Yeah,
Okay,
you have to ask for average.
Yeah. Yeah. So what buckets then?
What are buckets?
So
Is that
the,
what you're asking?
so we wanna,
Oh, yeah.
we're-
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know how much.
how about you do it in increments of 10, just to make it even? And you could, and so there is no. it's
Yeah, there's
too
no-
low.
oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
good, I
that's a
think
good
that
point.
extend all the way up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
20,
Very good,
okay.
very good, yeah.
And then after 30, I'll just say 4 more
Stop
or
work.
something, yeah.
Yeah.
Or,
We don't wanna know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess for the new people, they could explain that down here too. And I don't know whether we should change that somehow, for the 2 new people, to give them some open-ended question where they can say, well, I don't know yet. Because I've only been on the council. Understand you say council service work better. I mean, I guess they could put it down.
well, I guess it comes back to how do you want to use this data and what are you using it for?
That's true. So if we do get enough averages from experienced people, yeah, in other words.
So if you have majority say up to 20, and one anomaly that says I'm 40. How is that going to impact your decision opposed to them all maybe having this large range from, the 0 to 10 category to the 40 category? How is that gonna impact your decision? How are you gonna use this data?
Well, I think we talked about one thing, having a history of something, some information for the for going forward, because we don't know at this point.
Whether to leave for other salary committees.
Yeah. So we have some information, some history. We had talked about that as one idea the last time, as I remember. But I was thinking, I guess, in respect of them, that, let's say we can't raise their salaries. We've heard them. We've said, we know you work hard. In the future, we hope, because you do work so hard. But I don't know if that's appropriate. I'm just throwing things out right now. So I guess the question is, should we do a survey? Is what it's coming back around to.
I mean, you might find it helpful info. I'm just, again, as I think about when I have this data, I want to make sure it's usable for you, and how are you going to be translating it and using it? For example, I look at what are your reasons you ran for council? Is that going to impact your survey or not? Is that a question that's going to be relative to your decision versus, I can see like, okay, if they spend X amount of hours, that makes sense, but if you don't have something to compare that to, so maybe in the future, you're saying your future salary commissions can maybe use that as a barometer for future salary surveys and what kind of expectations there might be on the work that's being put in by your council members. I just, again,
No, it's
just
good.
throwing stuff out
No,
as I
appreciate
think
it.
about how I
Appreciate it.
Well,
sure.
I think one thing that's definitely gonna skew this is that it is anonymous, but the mayor is doing the same survey. We all know his hours, he's paid more because he's spending more hours. So there will always be that anomaly that's sitting out there, right? I mean, you think that 7 might come in together, but you won't.
Do you want the council members then to only receive that, or, even though I know the mayor has been in that capacity, perhaps you ask him to answer it as a council member.
Right. No, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that would help because he's very experienced. So,
But again, I think we go back to, you made the comment, do we do the survey? How is this gonna play out when we look at and whether or not we can justify, or if there is a defensible position, however you might want to say it, for salary increase based on the American Washington group of cities or whatever, and what everybody else is doing in the area. Is it really will it influence us? I think is the question.
Yeah, how would you use that to make your?
well, I think it would if we thought we could budge with the salary. When we're looking at the data, it just doesn't look like that, but I always hate to go in with an answer before I look at everything, so.
Yeah, and I guess we wouldn't have something to compare it against, so when I look at the comparables of other cities, you have to send a survey perhaps to everyone else to compare your city to other cities to decide.
Would that be public information though? Because in some of those reports, they did survey.
Yeah,
Because of the other cities.
if they have
That's
them,
ridiculous.
yeah, you would have. I guess that's how much do you want to put into?
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, I get it.
So you can ask.
I
them.
just care,
Yeah.
I truly care about our representatives, so.
Yeah,
Well, and I think that, I would be kind of curious. This is not a question for us to go and look at the answer, but, having served on boards, is that for every hour that you sit in a meeting, you know full well there's gonna be X number of hours outside of it. And so I think when you go in and agree to whether it's a council or a board position, it's gonna be far greater than what you think
Sure.
it's gonna be. And so, I don't, but I'm not sure. I guess I'm starting to talk myself out of a survey.
But that's, I mean, that's why we're meeting.
Oh, yeah, no big deal.
I don't know,
mean,
so,
I see the survey simply as a way to, say this is how we verify a recommendation. Simply as we're trying, qualify it to some degree because we asked the question. Because otherwise we don't know. It's our conjecture.
so then, to play devil's advocate, is that if we come back and we hear that they're spending 100 hours a month doing council work and they're only getting paid 600. Then what do we say? When we, I mean,
I think
when,
that's damn good data to have because we didn't know that.
well, it is, but I mean, are we gonna be able to say, oh, you should be, getting minimum wage, so what's minimum wage, and you should get $20 an hour? I mean,
no,
how are
I
we
don't
gonna
think
use
you-
the
yeah.
information? Because if we can look at what other cities of comparable size, whether it be population or, we'll get to the
Sales,
the
right.
sales tax, that's. Those are gonna, those,
Yeah,
the
and
budget's gonna confine what we can do.
I would tell you that while we look at other cities of similar tax base and population, we're trying to do what's right for our citizens. Plain and simple.
Our citizens or representatives?
Our
It's our
city and our
citizens,
council,
but,
yeah,
yeah.
our city is served by our council, so we're trying to have people run for office to guide us well, and we're trying to compensate them enough because they're not in it to make money. But yeah,
And it might be good information for people that wanna run. And this is kind of commitments that you do have to make. And yeah, you're not gonna be paid a lot, but we don't want you coming just to look good on your resume.
no,
So,
you come here to work.
because it's public information, it's a
That's the
survey.
big duty. I mean, it's people that are.
Right,
That's their passion, right? I mean,
Right.
they're not doing it for the money. They will never probably do it for the money,
well, right, but I do hear
but
in
they
the
need fair
scuttlebutt
money.
that we are not gonna get, it's been hard to get people to run.
And I haven't heard, I had. so
Yeah,
that's
well,
what
I'm
you've
hearing
been
that,
hearing.
yeah.
And do you have any sense of,
Shoot,
I don't know the scuttlebutt.
Yeah.
yeah,
I see that there are people running for positions, but I can.
but it's been hard to
I don't know
find
how-
those people.
and what will bring them in? Do you think it's money? I mean.
I don't think you can pay them what they're worth, but you may be able to justify down the road an increase if we can't do it this time.
See, and I'm.
Or,
yeah.
they get the information that, hey, this is a serious job. I can't do it, so, don't go into it and then leave, because we've had some of those happen. But, maybe we don't wanna go there and project that stuff either, I'm just like. It's just what it's going
So
on in my
what
mind.
I'm hearing a little bit too is that this group has wanted more information about the council and their role, the number of hours, and also trying to put together perhaps something for future salary commissions to be able to use it as their kind of like a foundation of work to work from. So perhaps that's all what's going into your report to say, and this is where you can decide what you want to do with the results. You might end up saying, the market says this is what we agree on, or we're saying that we think X amount is a fair amount, whatever that is you guys end up with. In addition, here are some considerations that this council thinks for future salary commissions would be relevant information and considerations, that the council could look at in the future. Because a lot of these things are larger scope issues that
Mhm.
I think might need some of the council weigh in. And maybe that helps guide the next council, or you guys can try to provide recommendations on what you would think would be helpful for the next council. And all that in your report.
For the next commission.
Yeah,
Yeah, for the next.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry.
She's
Oh,
using
that's okay.
that
Sorry.
definition.
Yeah,
That's okay, I just.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. And maybe that's what you guys are focused on ultimately as your work product is a report. of here's what we are finding that would be helpful moving forward as well in our future recommendations or considerations or whatever that looks like. And still do your
Yeah.
survey.
Yeah,
you know,
still do the survey, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that's what I would like to do, you just said.
And then you can roll the results of the survey into your report so that it is part of the materials that go to the board or the council.
Council.
Yeah.
So did we decide that we're going to use the first question, what are the reasons you're at for council?
Oh, go back to that. We don't have to. You know,
And I
I
always say
think
that
again, I
because
picked that up from. an
If I was
idea.
choosing between the two, I'd like to keep the last question
Yes,
more than
definitely. Then
the
the
first
first
one.
question, yeah, because we're probably gonna get all the same answers. To, you know, support my community, but.
it's
you
a
know.
way for them to say whatever they want to say about their position
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
truthful.
The last question.
So,
So take out the first one, but you're saying if we had to choose between the first one and the last one, you would take out the first one. Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah.
Yeah.
but
And
now
I
you have to
agree.
choose.
If we had to.
If we
choose.
had to choose.
Yeah,
If
and
we had to
I'm okay
choose.
with both being in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you could, I mean,
And if
if
it's,
someone says your survey, it's probably, if you want. If I was looking at it and say, okay, the reason I ran for council, I probably would like put a whole bunch of stuff,
oh,
unless I was limited to, you know,
a space.
like
whereas,
that word to less.
yeah, where you could say, okay, how many hours I can click a button, how many hours attending, click a button. And then anything else you think that I should add that'd be relevant.
Briefly describe the reasons you ran for council.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So you know.
Good, I like that. Yeah, briefly describe. But it'll be interesting.
Yeah. So I have that one, the, keep the last
So we
one
have
as
one.
is. for
Let's see how many do we have?
There's 3 questions.
2,
Well, it would be
No,
4 in
four.
the end, I
Four.
think, because
What today?
if, well, the preparing would be a separate question, like
Right.
the number of hours
Okay,
versus, or in
Yeah,
addition
attendance.
to the
okay,
attendance.
perfect, preparing it, okay. Got it. Thank you.
Unless you guys wanna roll it all together.
No, I like the idea of understanding, preparing versus attending, because I think there's a ton of time in the preparing part. Or it can be, depending on what's on the agenda, right?
Yes. They might add that. Depends.
I'm not trying to throw a wrench in.
But I think
or
it'd be-
have a question, I'm just
No.
being curious
Mhm.
what they think their other council members spend on.
So then how do we present this to Tom, to ask him to complete it as
As a council
Yeah.
member,
And,
well, you'll send it to him.
and
Yeah,
I guess too, is that if he wants to share what his hour commitments are, but he's gonna know that at that point, it's not enough.
yeah, cause when I send it, I'll send it as a link, which will mean that it's not tied to the email. And so it will be anonymous, and so in the email to them, I can specify, you know, Mayor French, please complete this
Mhm.
as it related to your council.
Perfect.
members.
And he's not been in the job very long.
I think
Yeah,
there's a
so-
lot of time there.
Oh, yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely, but I'm saying he
Anybody running
hasn't
for that
spent the whole
office has to
year.
assume,
The what?
anybody who runs for that office has to assume he's going to know staff members' birthdays and.
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
Besides the position,
And you get called for,
everything.
remember, I got called about the smell from the pizza place on the weekend. The garlic.
And remind me when we said we wanted these back by, so if I. put
Next
this
meeting's
out
the
by-
15th.
About a week, right? Well, we're meeting on the 15th, so.
So if I can try to get that out, let's say by tomorrow,
Oh,
but that means that I wouldn't be sending it to you all, perhaps I could just send it to the chair to say that these look like what we talked about.
Oh,
if
sure.
You're
Yep.
okay with that?
Oh, yeah,
And then that way I just have someone else looking at them.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Send it out tomorrow and see if they could send back their results by Friday, if possible.
Yeah,
Well, and I think they almost need to know, they need to know that we're meeting again on Monday.
well, you could say.
But not because if you say if possible, it's, I think there's a deadline.
Yeah,
They want
Yeah, and
us
that's
to-
what I thought that's why I thought we were, trying to push for today to have it done.
Yeah.
Trying to get it, but we needed to meet and talk about this.
Mhm.
okay.
Right.
Okay, good.
Okay. Item 7, commission members report. I think Matt had a different idea what that meant when I was asking a question about the agenda.
Maybe more like announcements and communication is what you were thinking?
Yeah, and actually what we just described today fits that bill. We're going to do a survey and we might come up with some recommendations that will end up being sort of a report to the council.
Yeah,
It just happened in this meeting. I was trying to get your question. What was the last time somebody got a raise around here? And I thought, actually, meeting's coming, I'll just let it go. So
Okay,
anyhow, that's our intent. We are going to produce a report.
okay, so then the commission members report, is there anything else that this group then would like to discuss on that outline of what that might look like, or we're good for tonight? Or I don't know if that was your agenda item, or,
Because when I was exchanging with Matt about the agenda, I think it just got misunderstood, and when it showed up, the packet was already out, and I thought,
okay,
so I would either be sitting here now saying, we're not gonna do that,
okay,
but we described today what would be a report,
okay.
so,
Mhm.
and I can't think of anything else I would add to that.
No,
It's really meant for the council and future commissions. So you don't have to listen to 3 people ask the same questions again.
so that foundation. It's good to have. Yeah, I hope they're able to, I wish our meeting wasn't on the 15th because that is tight for them, if they're busy this week. But it's not that many questions, so
Let's try.
that's
it
right.
should be motivating.
So we can just try.
Yeah, as long as we can just try, yeah. But, but thank you that you could get it out that fast. I know you're really busy.
It's okay, we'll
Yeah,
get it done.
So can we adjourn for
we're done? Oh, wow, we're done.
somebody to have lunch?
Yeah, right.
I'm good now, thank you.
Yeah, you got a little protein.
Exactly.
So is that an emotion?
I guess I can produce a motion for adjourning the meeting, yeah. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey.